The storm had swallowed the desert whole. Sand hissed across the broken hulls of ships that had fallen from the sky decades ago, remnants of a war humanity barely remembered. On the edge of the crash fields, a lone scavenger named Rian Hale dug through the wreckage, searching for salvageable tech and, if he was lucky, something edible. He didn't expect to find her. When he pulled open the half-buried airlock, a faint sound escaped, not metal creaking, not wind, but a breath. A living one. Inside lay an alien woman, pale violet skin streaked with dust and dried blood. She was dressed in what looked like a torn combat uniform, her insignia burned away. Rian froze. The wars had ended years ago, but memories of the alien soldiers, the Vishari, fierce and merciless, still haunted every colony. He should have walked away. He should have sealed the hatch and left. But she was dying. Her lips moved, whispering something in a language he didn't understand. Without thinking, Rian reached into his pack and pulled out a ration bar. He knelt beside her and broke it in half, placing a piece near her mouth. She stared at it, then at him, eyes glowing faintly, wild with confusion, before biting into it. That single act changed everything. The beginning. For days, Rian nursed her back to health inside his old ship, parked deep in the canyon where no patrols ventured. She called herself Kira, once a lieutenant of the Vishari Vanguard. Her people had retreated after the ceasefire, but her unit had been stranded, declared lost. At first, they barely spoke. Rian knew only a few words in Vishari, learned from an old translator. But over shared meals and long silences, the distance began to close. He taught her human words. She taught him phrases of her language. He noticed how disciplined she was, even in weakness. Every movement measured, every gesture proud. But when she smiled, that rare, careful smile, she looked almost human. When Kira was strong enough to stand, she tried to leave. "You helped me," she said, struggling with the words, "but my war is not done." Rian frowned. "The war's over." Her expression hardened. "Not for us. The council left us behind. We survive until they return. That is duty." He shook his head. Duty doesn't mean dying for ghosts. But she left anyway. The middle. 2 weeks passed before Rian saw her again. He was scavenging near the ridge when he spotted the smoke, black columns twisting against the pink horizon. He crept closer and found what remained of a Vishari outpost, raided by scavenger gangs. Bodies lay scattered among the rocks. And at the center, Kira cornered, wounded again, surrounded by men with rifles. Rian didn't think. He drew his blaster and fired. The first 2 scavengers dropped instantly. Chaos erupted. Kira moved like lightning, blades flashing. When it was over, she was bleeding from her side, and Rian's heart was pounding so hard he thought it might break his ribs. "You came back," she said, voice soft and cracked. "You look like you needed help," he replied. For the first time, she didn't argue. Rian patched her wounds again, this time inside a half-collapsed shelter. As the storm raged outside, Kira stared into the small flame of a heat unit. "You should not have done that," she murmured. "I owe you a life debt now." "I didn't save you for debt," he said quietly. "I just didn't want you to die." Something shifted in her eyes then, a quiet recognition, a softening of someone who'd never been shown mercy by an enemy before. Days turned into weeks. They built a fragile peace together, scavenging, fixing old tech, and cooking whatever they could find. Kira began to laugh, a strange melodic sound that startled Rian the first time he heard it. She teased him about his clumsy repairs, about how humans overuse sarcasm. And one night, as they shared a rare fruit she'd found growing among the rocks, she said, "On my world, When one feeds another with their hands, it is a vow of trust, a bond. He hesitated, then offered her the last piece of the fruit. She took it and smiled that quiet, knowing smile. The turning point.
The peace didn't last.
A patrol drone picked up their location, human authorities sweeping for illegal scavengers and alien refugees. When Rian saw the lights in the sky, his stomach dropped. "They'll take you," he said. "They'll lock you up." Kira rose, her voice calm. "Then I will not be taken." Before he could stop her, she stepped outside, blades drawn, ready to fight. Rian ran after her. "Kira, there's too many. I will protect what is mine," she said simply, and then he understood. The drone fired first. The blast tore through the sand beside them. Rian pulled her down, firing upward. They fought side by side, human and alien, until smoke and sparks filled the air. When the last drone fell, silence returned. But Kira was bleeding again, this time badly. Rian carried her back inside. She tried to speak, but he pressed a hand to her lips.
"Don't," he said.
"Save your strength." Her hand found his. "Rian,
You fed me.
you gave me life. On my world, that means our fates are bound." He shook his head, tears in his voice. "You're not going to die." "I'm not," she whispered faintly. "But I am staying." He didn't understand then. The ending. Weeks later, the desert was quiet again. The patrols stopped coming. Rian built a new shelter from salvaged hull plates, marking it with the Vishari crest Kira had drawn before she fell asleep that night, and never woke again. Or so he thought. Months passed before the sky split open with light, a Vishari cruiser descending from orbit. Rian watched from the ridge as figures emerged, tall and silver-skinned, carrying banners he'd only seen in Kira's stories. When he approached, they raised their weapons, until a voice called from behind them. "Stand down," said a figure stepping forward. Her armor gleamed like obsidian, and when she removed her helmet, his heart stopped. It was Kira.
Alive.
She explained later that the med gel she'd carried had put her in stasis until her people could track her beacon. She had awoken aboard the cruiser, healed, but changed. When her superiors asked about her time among humans, she said only one thing. "I was saved by one, and I owe him everything." Rian thought she would leave again. Instead, she took his hand in front of her crew. "Among my people," she said softly, "we bond with those who give us life. It is not a vow of command. It is a vow of choice." He looked into her eyes, the same violet fire he'd seen in the desert, and nodded. "I choose you too," he said. The Vishari bowed their heads in silent respect. The wind carried the scent of sand and metal, and for the first time, the desert didn't feel empty. Years later, travelers across the colonies spoke of a strange settlement deep in the crash fields, where a human and an alien warrior built a new home together. They said that sometimes under the twin moons, you could see two figures walking side by side, their laughter echoing across the dunes, a reminder that even in the ashes of war, kindness could forge something greater than victory. And